What's up, you guys? Thank you for clicking on this video. So as you can tell by the title, this is something that's been on my mind for a little bit. I've talked about it in certain videos in the past, but I don't think I've ever really dedicated a full video on this topic. And I know a ton of people are thinking about this on and off in their own heads, being a Transformers fan. I mean, the movies are one of, if not the biggest, piece of media within the Transformers franchise. So it's only natural to realize that since 2017, which is going on a decade now, if you could believe that, what's that, 7 years now? Oh my god, in 3 years, that'll be 10 years ago since we had our first ever movie failure, basically, in the Transformers franchise, being The Last Knight. I remember when I went to go see The Last Knight, it was summer of 2017. I saw it opening day, fresh out of school. I was on summer break. I think that was like the first day I got out of school for summer break, so I was pretty hyped off that. I was hyped to go see the movie, obviously, so the vibes were feeling great going into the theater, summer of 2017, and I come out the theater perplexed, confused, and frankly disappointed for the first time ever right after seeing a brand new Transformers movie right out of the theater. I didn't feel this way during Age of Extinction, Dark of the Moon, ROTF, or the 2007 movie. I've seen every single Transformers movie in theaters, and that was the first time where I was like, WTF did I just watch? I will admit, at first, when I first saw it, I was like, okay, this is a little weird. It's definitely off more compared to the last four, but I don't hate it. It took a little while for me to be like, okay, this is a piece of what. I just hated it more as time went on, especially with the weak toy line to accompany it at the time. The Transformers figures in general were just terrible, whether it was Titan's Return or the movie line itself or RAD 2015. Everything was just mid at the time, and I'm so glad we're starting to get past that. But it's still not at a pace where it's like, okay, these are doing good in theaters again. Now, mind you, we did have the whole thing in 2020 that changed the world. It really changed Hollywood and how people perceived movies. The whole science behind it all is pretty weird and kind of interesting, and we really don't know the full answer to it yet because we're still living in this era. But it's like, okay, we aren't attracted to these types of movies anymore due to what happened in the world, but we still don't know what we want, even though we don't want what we've been getting for the past 10, 15, 20-something years. It's all very strange and crazy if you really think about it. But we did get Rise of the Beasts out of the post-COVID era, and it did... What's a good word for how it did at the box office? It did mediocre, I guess you could say. It didn't do absolutely terrible. It didn't flat out bomb, but it didn't do great either. It was in the middle. It did, I think it was like 450 or like 500 million at the box office. Now, I'm not one to like totally care about the box office numbers for me to decipher whether or not I actually like a movie, but you want the movie to do good and have a good box office return to get more movies and for the franchise to still have legs at the end of the day. So all these fans online talking about, oh, stop worrying about the box office numbers. All that matters is that the movie's good or not. Well, the box office numbers do sort of matter if you want the franchise to still be alive 10 years from now, or if you want it to be alive by the time you have kids and you want to put your kids onto the franchise, and it's not something where it's like He-Man or G.I. Joe right now, where nobody's heard about it in the last 15, 20 years. You don't want Transformers to turn into that. And that's why I and so many other people out there care about these movies doing good at the box office. You don't want it to fail. Bumblebee happened. It came out like a year and a half before 2020. And things were starting to shift even before then, a couple years leading up to 2020. So Bumblebee, hot off the heels of, The Last Night, a year and a half after that movie came out. So that was still kind of fresh in people's minds. So I think that also impacted how it did at the box office. And frankly, the only reason why Bumblebee did well at the box office was because the budget was super low on that movie. I think it was only like 50 million, and the movie returned, I think it was like 250 million or 200 million, something like that. So it made a good profit because of the budget being super low for a movie like Bumblebee. So it was really sort of luck in terms of how Paramount planned everything out for that Bumblebee movie. Because if it was another $150, $200 million movie, I don't think we would be sitting here right now talking about a G.I. Joe and Transformers crossover movie and talking about Rise of the Beast. I think there would have been a pretty long hiatus on Transformers movies going forward, and we probably would have just now started getting word on them maybe doing another Transformers movie after Bumblebee, almost 10 years later, 6 years later after Bumblebee. So that would have been pretty insane, but luckily that they didn't go crazy with the budget, and we are where we are right now, and we're anticipating the G.I. Joe and Transformers crossover movie coming out summer of 2026. So that leaves us with, where do we go from here for a Transformers movie to just do good at the box office like what it did before The Last Night flopped? Making 800 million, 900 million, $1 billion, somewhere around that range would be very good right now for the Transformers live action movie franchise. Now, we do have Transformers 1 coming out. That's an animated movie. It's a little different. I'm not sure the budget on that movie, but I think it'll do well considering it being an animated movie and being so far removed from the live action stuff, and especially since we've gotten such good word on the movie from people who have seen it at test screenings and people who have seen it early the past few weeks or couple months right now, and we're like a month and a half away from the release, 2 months away. So things are looking good for that movie. I don't think it's going to bomb at the box office. I think it's going to do well, and it's going to reinvigorate Paramount and Hasbro a little bit for the Transformers movies. But the real test is going to be 2 years from now in summer of 2026 with how well received and how well, frankly, Paramount does with the G.I. Joe and Transformers crossover movie. And if they want to make a huge profit on it, to do another sequel to it, just make it a good, cohesive story with characters that are well written, and characters that actually make sense within the context of everything that they've built up so far. Do not abandon ideas that were set up in the previous movies. Just follow a linear storyline that builds off of the previous movie. Rise of the Beast barely feels like a continuation of Bumblebee outside of a couple minor story elements that are basically just references out of the whole 2-hour movie. Same thing with pretty much almost every other Transformers movie sequel. Definitely The Last Night and Age of Extinction. A little bit with Revenge of the Fallen, Dark of the Moon, but that can be remedied sort of easy with headcanon and, what they explained in the comic books and the video games. You could draw whatever you want from the original trilogy, those original 2 sequels. But once you get into Age of Extinction, The Last Night, Bumblebee, and Bumblebee to Rise of the Beast, it's like, what the hell? Why can't we just get a nice, clean, linear storyline that follows what was already built off of from the previous movie? Now, sure, like I said, they do take elements of what was built off of the Bumblebee movie, but it's still so far removed. I mean, we're already jumping the gun to Unicron, Terracons. We don't even know what the Decepticons are up to. They're barely even in the movie. We jump the gun into Maximals and Predacons out of nowhere all of a sudden. It just doesn't make sense from a storyline and sequel standpoint. So really pulling back and honing in what they really want to tell storyline wise that makes sense within what they've already built. It's really not that hard. It's basic common sense and basic movie making and storytelling. Like, I don't know why it's so hard for Paramount and I guess Hasbro too to realize that we want a good story and good characters, and I mean, Transformers movies have really been failing at that for a while now. I mean, at least with the first three movies, you had funny scenes, you had amazing action, very unique and cool character designs, great video games and toy lines to back it up. Nowadays, you're lucky if you get a decent toy line with these movies. They don't do video games anymore, they don't do comics anymore. It's just very bland and boring and streamlined in a way that we don't even need it. I would prefer a streamlined story before we don't get any video games or comics or a decent toy line for the movie. I think all those things are really lacking for the live action stuff, that if Hasbro and Paramount really listen to the fans and, focus on making a good, concise movie and focus on marketing it in a way that really, moves people and especially fans and newcomers to the Transformers franchise, like what they did with the first three movies. I mean, you look at the marketing with those first three movies and it was just off the charts. You had everything going on at the time and it really built up this atmosphere that was really exciting to be around and be a Transformers fan at the time. Nowadays, you're lucky if you get, a third trailer for a Transformers movie. It's kind of weird. I don't know. Just make a good movie, make the marketing good, make the merchandise great. And I think the G.I. Joe and Transformers movie is going to do good. I think Transformers 1 is going to do pretty great. The trajectory looks pretty good on that movie, but we just really got to wait and see, because the real test is going to be with the live-action movie, the G.I. Joe and Transformers crossover. So we'll see if Paramount smartens up a little bit. It seems like Lorenzo might be doing so with that most recent interview that I covered last month. But who knows? He seems to talk out of his booty every movie release, so we really don't know what's truly on his mind until we see the final product. But yeah, guys, let me know down in the comments below. What do y'all think is going on with the Transformers movie franchise right now, and what do you think they could do to fix it? I mean, I'm sure the answers are going to be pretty obvious in the comments, and I'm pretty sure I've answered most of them, but just let me know in the comments. All my social medias are linked down below. My email is also linked down below if y'all want to hit me up about business inquiries, or if you want to message me about whatever, or if you want to commission a diorama from me, because I make dioramas for people for their stop motions photography or just regular display shelves in your homes. You could either hit me up on any of my social media accounts or just email me and we can work out a deal. But yeah, guys, thank you for watching this video. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Bye!